This is the Resilience Code, turning adversity into strength, one story at a time. I am your host, Arbaina, and if you have a story of your own, there's a link in my bio. It's been a minute since I last sat down here, and in that space, I kept asking myself the same question. Why do I keep sharing my story? It's not easy. Sometimes it brings up the things I'd rather forget. Sometimes it leaves me drained. But every time I speak, something happens. Somebody from somewhere reaches out and says, I thought it was just me. And that simple sentence grounds me because that's the reason I do this. Not to relieve my pain, but to help somebody else name theirs. Stories are mirrors, and when we tell the truth out loud, we give other people permission to see themselves and start healing as well. And lately, I've realized something else. When we tell our stories, we're not just helping other people heal, we're helping ourselves stay connected. Every time I speak, I hear my voice differently. It reminds me I've made it this far. It reminds me that my story has changed, even if I didn't notice when it happened. For a long time, I thought healing meant doing it all alone, that strength looked like silence, that if I could handle everything by myself, I'd be safe. But the truth is, that kind of strength is a survival skill, not a life. It keeps you alive, yes, but it doesn't help you grow. Real resilience, the kind that lasts, is built on connection. It's remembering that we're never the only ones trying to find our way. That there's always someone else out there, maybe halfway across the world, feeling the same heartbreak, fighting the same battles, learning the same lessons. That's what this podcast has taught me more than anything. Our stories might sound different, but they're made of the same roots. And that's where the image of a forest came to me. Because when I think about resilience now, I picture a forest. Every tree stands on its own, but underneath the surface, they're all connected to each other. Their roots stretch towards one another. When one tree doesn't get enough sunlight, the others send nutrients its way. When one starts to wither, the rest adjust the soil to help it survive. That's what community looks like. Not loud, not performative, but quietly, constantly keeping each other alive. That's what healing looks like too. When we tell the truth about what we've been through, we're feeding someone else's who's trying to survive their own drought. When we listen without judgment, we're helping someone find their footing again. That's how the forest breathes. I used to believe that my healing had to look strong, that it had to be proof of something. But now I see that healing can also look like stillness. It can also look like honesty. It can look like I don't have it all figured out, but I'm still showing up. Because sometimes resilience isn't the roar of a lion, it's the quiet hum of roots doing the work no one can see. It's not the loudest one in the room, it's the one that keeps growing, even in silence. And lately, I've been thinking about how that applies to life now. We live in a world that celebrates visibility, followers, views, applause. But the truth is, the most important parts of our growth happens where no one is watching. In the quiet moments, in the pauses, in the space when we stop performing and just breathe. That's why I wanted to make Forest, because this is what it feels like to step back, to slow down, to look at everything we've grown through and realize we didn't do it alone. When we think about it, every single person who's ever crossed our path left something behind: a lesson, a scar, a seed. Sometimes we call it pain, sometimes we call it love. But either way, it's changed us. It made us who we are. And maybe that's what being human really is: a long process of turning experiences into compost, letting the good and the bad mix together until something new can grow from it. When I look back now, I can see the forest that raised me, the friends who stayed when things fell apart, the strangers who showed kindness when they didn't have to, the mentors who challenged me to keep going, and even the people who hurt me because they taught me where my boundaries needed to be. All of it built the person I am now. And if I'm being honest, there are still days when I forget that, when I feel small again, when I start to think I'm back at zero. But then something always brings me back: a message from a listener, a quiet morning, a small reminder that I'm still part of something much bigger than myself. Because that's what Forest does. It keeps us calling back. It keeps calling us back to connection. It says, you're still here. You still belong. And you don't have to grow alone. So if you've been feeling behind, if you've been feeling disconnected, if you're trying to heal but it feels like nothing is moving, like me, maybe this is the reminder to rest, to remember the roots, grow in silence, and healing doesn't always look like progress. You're still growing, even if you can't see it. You're still connected, even if you feel alone. And one day, when you least expect it, you look around and realize that your forest has been growing with you all along. So today I wanted to ask you, who are your people? The present, the past? Who are the people that kept you standing when you didn't have strength? What small act of honesty or kindness has helped you breathe again? And how can you pass that same air into someone else? Because resilience isn't a solo project, it's a quiet web that keeps us all standing. We do not heal in isolation. We heal by remembering that we belong to each other. That's it for today's story. If it stayed with you, sit with it. If it helped, pass it on. And if you've got something of your own, there's a link in my bio. You don't have to fix it, just name it. And always remember, resilience isn't about pretending you're okay. It's about choosing, again and again, not to be hardened, but to be changed.